A special order this morning, a little late, but it's a special order regardless. Mr. Pro Tem, you have SB 1050. Please come to the podium. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good morning to each and every one of you. Madam Chair, I want to thank you very much for the special order accommodation this morning. I want to thank you for the opportunity also to present Senate Bill 1050, a measure that we announced not too long ago, actually, at San Gabriel High School, which is in Alhambra, California, down in Los Angeles. First, I want to thank you as well as your staff on the Education Committee for the review and analysis. I do want to say up front that I'd like to take the committee amendments as detailed in the analysis. A very good amendment, no doubt. Madam Chair, I'll try to be as brief as possible and then just allow the witnesses to share a few words, and as well as some more personal testimony with regards to personal experiences coming up through a lower decile high school and having an opportunity to go into higher education. But, you know, Madam Chair, as well as colleagues, roughly about 80% of our kids in California graduate from high school. If we disaggregate that data, 93% are Asian Americans as well as whites. Latinos constitute about 80%, and African Americans are about 77%. So obviously, if we were to increase our numbers on graduation rates with regards to Latinos and African Americans, the overall aggregate number would be higher for California. That would be a good sign. However, let me underscore the following point. Out of the 80% aggregate number of high school graduates in the state of California, only 42% of them are actually A through G eligible. What that means specifically is you have 38% of high school kids in California today who graduate from high school are not A through G eligible through no fault of their own. Now, what are these A through G requirements that higher education institutions demand, in particular the University of California system? That's 4 years of English. It is 3 years of math. It is 2 years of U.S. history, 2 years of a lab science, 2 years of a foreign language, 1 visual arts, as well as 1 year of an extracurricular activity that is approved by the University of California system. So if you have 38% of students who don't have the ability, for a whole variety of reasons, to take their A through G classes, either they're not available, either there are just not enough classes altogether, lab science, for example, then you have students who are good students, but from the very beginning are not eligible for admissions consideration at the University of California system. So in effect, what you have is you have a system that's already rigged against students, in particular students at the lowest economic strata and students of color. Then you compound that situation with regards to an arbitrary system that we have with regards to admissions policy. Again, I just want to underscore my own personal thoughts and opinion. If you're not AG eligible, then you overlay that with honors classes, and then you triple layer that with advanced placement classes, and you have neither or very few of them on your high school campus, then you really have a system that's really rigged from day one against a student, a particular student who may be poor or who is poor in the state of California. So it's no surprise that when we get high school graduate students who go on to higher education, in particular to the most elite, prestigious public university system in the world, who graduates and who doesn't graduate and who doesn't get access, that should not be shocking at all whatsoever. We're attempting to remedy that situation, given the fact that over 59% of our K through 12 public school population are of the lowest economics are in the lowest economic strata. So what are we trying to do with Senate Bill 1050? With Senate Bill 1050, we are trying to take one-time dollars. We don't have a precise figure yet. We know it's north of 100 million from Prop 98 to provide the accessibility for these students at the lowest economic strata, in particular LCFF plus schools throughout the state of California who don't have, perhaps there is a letter missing in the A through G, and maybe that is the lab science. 2 years requirement of lab science. Maybe there's not enough classes altogether. Maybe they don't have the advanced placement courses and we need to buy those slots out. Perhaps they can't afford even to take the AP examination and there needs to be a waiver for the fee, or we can provide those dollars for the fee. They don't know that there's a dearth of counselors and therefore they don't know the deadlines on when they need to apply. This is the money, the one-time dollars that we want to invest in our schools throughout the state of California who lack currently right now the courses for these students to be ready and eligible for the UC system. Along with that, we're going to buy enrollment slots as well. And these enrollment slots, as opposed to shrinking the pie, what we want to do is we want to expand the pie and make sure that there is consideration for these students at the LCFF plus schools have a pipeline. Obviously, they have to still be UC eligible. They still have to meet the requirements, but it's difficult for them to be UC eligible or meet the requirements if they don't have the ability, again, through no fault of their own. I think this is a very profound investment in our children, in our students in California. And I do truly believe that with the changing demographics in California, being currently the 7th largest GDP in the world, that's really incumbent on us to make sure that we give every student, irrespective of the hue of their skin, their legal status, the language that they speak, a real opportunity to have access to higher education. Therefore, Madam Chair, as well as Mr. Vice Chair and colleagues, I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you very much. Well, let's hold off before we take comments, and let's call a roll.
Blue.
Here.
Blue here, Block. Hancock. Here. Hancock here, Huff. Here. Huff here, Leyva. Mendoza. Mendoza here, Monning. Monning here, Pan. Here. Pan here, Vidak. That's 6.
Okay, we have a quorum. So in support of the bill, please.
Good morning. Leilani Aguinaldo Yee on behalf of the Los Angeles Unified School District. LAUSD is pleased to support SB 1050, a bill that we believe will strengthen the college pipeline and ensure all students, regardless of income, race, ethnicity, or status, have an opportunity to attend California's top public universities. At LAUSD, we are working hard to ensure all of our students have this opportunity. And in fact, during our new superintendent's tenure, in the first weeks of her tenure, Superintendent Michelle King called for all hands on deck to increase our graduation rate and our A through G completion rate. LAUSD's graduation rates have increased 25% since 2007, and the class of 2016 will be the first to complete the A through G course sequence as a graduation requirement. LAUSD's top priority is simple: to ensure that all students graduate and complete the A through G requirements. But we cannot do this alone as a school district. We depend on state and local partnerships, including our institutions of higher education, to be college prepared and career ready. And college readiness begins by preparing our systems of learning and creating opportunities for collaboration and public partnerships. And SB 1050 does exactly that. It allows us to work in partnership and to use the best strategies to ensure all of our students have equal opportunity to be eligible for admission to California's top public universities. For these reasons, we support SB 1050. Thank you.
Thank you. In support.
Good morning. Jessie Ryan, Executive Vice President of the Campaign for College Opportunity. We're a coalition comprised of more than 12,000 business, civic, and education leaders dedicated to ensuring that this next generation of Californians has an opportunity to go to and succeed in college. We strongly believe that a student's zip code should not determine their destiny. Unfortunately, for far too many students, where you live and your income level will determine your ability to access your college dream. SB 1050 seeks to buck that troubling dynamic and to level the playing field by first preparing more students to be eligible to attend four-year colleges, and then ensuring more qualified California high school students are admitted to a UC. The reality is that data has articulated that high schools with more affluent students have greater access to college prep and AP courses. Additionally, a recent Campaign for College Opportunity report called Access Denied detailed the rising selectivity at colleges across California, particularly our University of California system, recognizing that it is increasingly competitive, in some cases requiring students to have near-perfect GPAs to be eligible for admission to our flagship University of California colleges. We really believe that this is unacceptable at a time when we know that projected workforce demand will require more than 1.1 million BAs by 2030. I have to say that this is, for me, a policy that is deeply personal as well. Growing up as the daughter of a struggling single welfare mother, my mother told me that I would end the cycle of poverty in my family by accessing a college education. She put me into a high school that was supposed to be a strong academic foundation. And imagine our dismay and astonishment at the end of my high school journey when I found that I hadn't actually had access to four-year college prep. Despite having a good GPA, I found myself at the doors of a community college. As a low-income student, I did not understand how to navigate the system. And the reality is that that is the story of so many low-income students across the state and families that are trusting our high schools to prepare our students to access a four-year college, and then finding, due to no fault of their own, they are not eligible to do so. We think that SB 1050 is an important investment in our students, and that our state's leadership must have the courage to strengthen the pipeline and to ensure that more California students are eligible for the University of California system. I'd like to say in addition to that, we really have to focus on ensuring that we have systemized a process that allows for equal opportunity for access to A through G and AP coursework. It is not only a moral but an economic imperative, and for that reason I urge your support and I vote this morning.
Thank you very much. In support, and let's be brief.
Hi everyone, I'm Angelica Reyes. I went to Lincoln High School, which is a LCFF plus high school in LAUSD. I'm currently a senior at UCLA. I graduate this June with college honors. In the fall, I start my master's program also at UCLA to become a teacher. Currently, I'm an intern at AAAJ, Asian Americans Advancing Justice, and I'm a lead coordinator at the Lincoln High School Dream Center. I grew up in East Los Angeles, and both my parents are street vendors, and something that I grew up with that my mom instilled in me was that education is the most important thing that I could have. That was the only thing that she can give me that nobody could ever take away from me. And I feel that the students that I currently work with, as well as myself, were brought up with this idea of meritocracy, that if you work really, really hard, that you're gonna get the benefits of your work, right? So I was brought up with this, and from the third grade, I set my eye on UCLA. And even though I had really good grades, I thought I was doing everything right. When I got to my senior year, I didn't apply to UCLA because I thought that I couldn't afford it as a result of no counseling and no guidance, really. So I didn't apply, and I also found myself at a community college. And this is a result of the lack of counselors and lack of resources. We're setting up our students to have aspirations. Many of my students are intelligent. They have so much potential, and everything is there for them to succeed except the resources. And if we're feeding them all these aspirations and not following through with them, we're literally setting them up to fail, right? And so what I want you all to think about also is that people like me, people who came from these communities and made it to UCLA, are outliers. And that even when we do make it to these institutions, they're so hard to navigate that the dropout rate is ridiculously high. I'm lucky to have attended UCLA because there is a program called academic advancement program. And through AAP, they offer workshops, counselors, tutoring, graduate mentors, scholarships, and this has been a safe haven for students of color and impoverished students. I'm sure that because of this program, me and my friends are graduating this June. So I want to emphasize that our system is broken, that it's up to you all to fix the system, to make sure that our students are breaking the cycle of poverty, that their aspirations are not for nothing, because this is the American dream. They're brought up thinking that if they try really hard and they're doing everything right, which my students are, but still they are not given these opportunities. They are not aware of scholarships or tutoring or the requirements to go to college. They frequently ask me questions, and I'm not part of the legitimate staff at Lincoln High School. And so if they had a college counselor, this would alleviate a lot of these problems. So I urge you all to please consider doing this, because it's an investment, it's morally right, and it would greatly impact our society in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a lineup here. Please identify yourself and your organization.
Madam Chair, Jeff Frost, representing the California Association of Latino Superintendents and Administrators. The goals of this legislation are consistent with the goals that are the foundation of CALSA. We're proud to support the bill.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Jeff Vaca, representing the Riverside County Superintendent of Schools and the 23 school district superintendents in Riverside County, in support of the bill.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and Senator Seth Bramble here on behalf of more than 300,000 members of the California Teachers Association in strong support.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and members, Rand Martin on behalf of California Charter Schools Association advocates, following my good friend Mr. Bramble in support of the bill, and kudos to Senator De Leon for bringing CTA and CCSA together on the same bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. I'm Liz Guillen with Public Advocates. We're a civil rights nonprofit legal organization. We work very closely with low-income parents and students across the state. We support the proposal very much, and we have made a request for recommendations. Some have made a request for some amendments, some that have been addressed very ably in the committee analysis, and we look forward to working with the Pro Tem and his staff to ensure that the limited funds that are available for this worthy project are invested in the best way that targets the real need that exists. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Parr on behalf of the College Board, who administers the SAT, PSAT, and AP courses, in strong support.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and members, Brian Rivas on behalf of the Education Trust West in support.
Thank you.
Good morning, Marta Alvarez on behalf of the Association of California School Administrators. We'll be recommending a support position at our next policy committee. Thank you for doing this measure to try to close the opportunity gap. Thank you.
Madam Chair and members, Brendan Tuig on behalf of EdVoice in support.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and members, Nancy Lacoste representing Sacramento City Unified School District in support.
Good morning, Khadija Alam Javed with the Advancement Project. Pleased to support this bill.
Good morning, David Nevin on behalf of San Bernardino City Unified and Santa Ana Unified School Districts. We are in support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Lee Angela Reed on behalf of the California Association of School Counselors in strong support.
Thanks.
Madam Chair and members, Andrew Medina of Asian Americans Advancing Justice, a project of Advancing Justice Asian Law Caucus and Advancing Justice Los Angeles in strong support.
Thank you.
Good morning, Eric Nelson, a public charter high school teacher in Los Angeles in strong support because of the focus on retention and recruitment of students like mine for the UC and Cal State schools. Thank you.
Madam Chair, April Joy Macadangdang. I am a charter school teacher. I support SB 1050 because this will help empower students from the lowest economic strata to be college ready and highly eligible to apply to California's flagship universities. Thank you.
Hillary Estes. I am a charter public school middle school teacher in LA, and I am in support of this bill because we have a lot of good students at our school who need this.
Good morning, Cindy Reyes, a public charter school educator. I am also in support of this bill because every student deserves the right to the opportunity to go to college.
Good morning, my name is Luisa Desma. I'm a first year at UC Davis, and I am coming from low-income community from Richmond, California, and I'm part of a student organization called Students for Education Reform, in which we're advocating for political and policy change, and I'm in support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Sandy Freed with the University of California, and while we don't yet have a position on this bill, we have been working with the senator, share his goals, and look forward to continuing to work together on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any others in support of the bill? Is there any opposition to the bill? The committee didn't receive anything in writing. Are there any questions from members? Senator Monning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank the author for bringing this forward. Clearly, there's broad support. I just had a question. It sounded from your affirmative presentation that there are schools that don't provide all the A through G requirements, and I guess I don't understand how they can be in our system and not provide that full range of course offerings that would be necessary to move forward. How does that happen, that there's schools that aren't providing it?
That's, I think a lot of these schools, a lot of these are LCFF plus schools. They weren't defined as so before we had the reforms that we collectively voted on in collaboration with the leadership of the governor to establish the local control funding formula. A lot of it's driven by poverty. A lot of it's driven by the priorities that school districts have, school board members have at the local level. I cannot speak, on behalf of superintendents or school board districts as to reason why there's a dearth or there's a lack of A through G. It could be most schools have 4 years of English, 3 years of math. There can be schools that lack a very sophisticated lab science class because of issues of resources, where you can have, say, for example, and I applaud them. This is Huntington Beach High School District in Orange County. They offer in one high school 30 AP courses. I applaud them, for what they do and their commitment and their belief in their students and giving them every single opportunity to succeed and be UC eligible and UC ready. Not all schools are the same, and one can tie it down to socioeconomics, one perhaps can tie it down to the issues of leadership, or combination thereof. We know that the inequities exist today, and hence the measure, Senate Bill 1050.
I appreciate that, and again, I appreciate what this seeks to do. It would seem part of that disparity, as you mentioned, socioeconomic, but zip code probably problems related to recruitment and retention of teachers in certain parts of the state, certain districts. But our schools should be the platform where all students have equal access to higher education. So I applaud this, Madam Chair. At the appropriate time, I'd like to move the bill.
Thank you. Just for additional clarification, we don't mandate that our school districts have ADG requirements. So it's up to the discretion of individual schools.
Yeah, so
districts.
That seems to be a structural flaw that this, at least in part, attempts to address. But if that's not required, then students, by the luck of the draw, either have access to it or they don't.
Correct.
So
Senator Huff and then Senator Hancock.
I appreciate the intent of this bill because I know it's a persistent problem that the Pro Tem and I have dialogued about, trying to figure out how to get our arms around it, how to help these, break the cycle of poverty, help some of these kids get opportunities they wouldn't have anyway. I guess where I'm struggling is we just did LCFF, and that was implemented, I believe, in the first part of 2014, so it's not fully played out. It would take 4 or 5 years to try to see if it's actually accomplishing what we hoped it would. So we're throwing more money, and I won't say throwing, we're investing more money. There's a term we can agree on. We're investing more money. We don't know if the investment we have already is enough, and it likely comes at the expense of some of the other schools as they are a little slower in reaching their targets. When LCFF was on the table here for us, I supported it. I had polled my superintendents, and the majority of them, I won't say all of them, but probably 2/3 of them to 3/4, said it was better than what they had now, and so they would go along with it. After it was implemented and they saw how that impacted, those dynamics changed. And so we have a lot of these schools that are not getting the larger amount of funding provided through LCFF that also have struggling students. They also have lack of resources, and so it's more incumbent on the parents. Some can do it, some can't. So there's gaps even within the system that we have. So the money is one issue. The other, creating spots at the UC. I can tell you, and I've had this conversation with you, I went to a school that did have A to G. I did have a counselor. He told me not to become a teacher. That was his big contribution to my guidance. And I'm still holding him accountable for that. I would have enjoyed being a teacher, probably more than being a legislator.
That wasn't collective.
And I'd be retired by now. But
with a CalSTRS pension.
With a CalSTRS pension, yeah.
You would be a strong believer in defined benefit.
Would that be a good time to say we don't get pensions, just to clarify for everybody out there? But the reality was,
if you don't mind, Madam, through the chair, just Senator Block said perhaps you'd be president of the California Teachers Association too,
Stranger things have happened in my life, yes, but probably not. But, I graduated third in my class. I was not ready for a UC. I had all the AG requirements. Why? You can have the requirements on paper, but being actually prepared is a different thing. I had a brother that was similar to me. He went to a 4-year school. He flunked out. Had to go back to community college. In fact, his counselor told him at the college, says, so what does your dad do? Well, he's a farmer. What's your mom do? Well, he's a teacher. You might want to go back and consider farming. I mean, that was the college counselor. We went back and got retooled and got his skills up at community college, eventually got a master's from SC. But the point is, putting more money in there and just having counselors doesn't mean they're quality counselors. Just having a pipeline to the UCs doesn't mean they're ready. And so the fix, I believe, has got to be a more comprehensive fix, and it has to come to some of the things that I propose here, and I'll have another one today, that some of the same people that support the pro tem and want his favor would support, me. And in the educational system, that would be a wonderful thing. Because when we're quality blind about the teachers, when we don't respect the poorest performing teachers that are ruining our kids' lives, really, and there's not that many of them. It's been said that if there was a study that, and I've said this before, if you just take the lowest 10% performing teachers, and I know that would be tough to try to remove them. By the way, we can't right now. But if we did and replace them with just average teachers, we would have an educational system on the order of Finland, which is the holy grail of international standards. And so if that's what it takes, why do we keep going back to the old, let's give it more money, instead of looking at the quality of the output that we're actually doing and holding the schools accountable? So we can't hold the UC, we can't tell the UC what to do. So you have a nice incentive system here on the pipeline. Why don't we have a similar incentive system for the schools that don't have counselors, the schools that don't have, A to G that's fully required? Let's do some incentives for them. And by the way, let's try to change out some of those teachers that are failing our kids and failing a generation or two because of that. So I guess that's a long way of saying, I'm not going to support your bill today. I applaud where it's going. I think it does need to be a little more comprehensive fix, and I would enjoy your support in some of my education reform stuff that I've tried to get through this institution for the last 12 years.
Well, through the chair, I appreciate your comments. We'll have a difference of opinions with regards to the factors, but I do know one thing. I do know you to be committed to our children K through 12. I know your background. You came from a very poor community, one of the poorest counties in the state, if not the nation, Imperial County. And you went to Westmont over in Montecito, and I know that. And so I know your struggles. I know where you came from. I know you worked very hard. I know you've been very committed to the idea of education. There's a diverse, there are diverse opinions with regards to the policies that you have proposed but I've never once ever thought that you've never had a commitment to the well-being of our children, irrespective of who they are, so. Yeah.
Senator Hancock?
Thank you. I don't know that I can top all the stories I'm hearing this morning, but I'm going to support the bill today. And, my story, just one of them, is I was very happy to see the young man from Richmond here, because several years ago I was talking to a group of students in Richmond, and they were top students, and I asked them, oh, you're going to go to UC? And one of the young men looked at me and said, no, I know I get good grades, but I know my school isn't ranked that high. I don't think, I won't go to UC. And it was not said with rancor or anger, just acceptance of that's the way life was. And it doesn't have to be that way. And I hope that this bill will put us on the road to getting where we need to be. I just want to underscore the need for counselors. And because in many schools, you have one counselor for 1,000 students. Now, many middle-class parents will tell you that preparing a child for college is a full-time job their senior year. The essays, the sort of continual instruction as to the nuances of where applications go and one thing and another. I think we want every single young person in our high schools to have a college counselor who knows that student well, who will encourage them, and who will walk them through what is now, as has been pointed out, a very competitive and complicated process. So yes, we need the A to G courses, but we also need the guide through the maze of the system. And I'm glad it's mentioned, as the bill develops, I hope we'll really put an emphasis on that.
Thank you. Senator Mendoza?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill touches upon my life in many ways, obviously, for being a first-generation student to, in my family, to go to college and having a counselor identify and help me through the process, and it was just by a random sequence. But I want to thank the author for bringing this forward. I think it's a great bill. I'm a former school teacher. I taught elementary school, and I know that sometimes we do our work in the elementary level, and we send our kids off to middle school and high school in hopes that they will eventually make it. And I still sometimes see some of my students on Facebook, the ones that do find me. It's kind of nice to see them going to college, and I don't see many of them doing that. So I would love to see a measure like this to allow our students more access, opportunity to actually be identified and helped through the process of getting to higher education. I am kind of disappointed that I keep hearing my colleague from Diamond Bar scapegoating and targeting teachers as them failing our students, or these few teachers in each class, in each school or in the districts that are failing our students and continually attacking our teachers. And I think that's bad. And I think that's, as leaders, the teachers are not failing our students. We are failing our students. We as the legislature, we as the government, we're not providing the resources and there's so many, public education is so complex, and for them to just scapegoat it on one single group when every student succeeds on everybody's hard work, whether it be the administration, whether it be the teachers, whether it be the school board, whether it be the state, whether it be the parents. We're all a part of the success of a child, but yet we continually identify and say, oh no, teachers are failing, teachers. There's a process of getting rid of bad teachers. There's a process. I've seen it work through. When I taught in elementary school, we knew if there was a bad teacher, we knew who they were, and the principal had to do his or her work to make sure they got that failing teacher out. Now, sometimes the principal didn't want to take that duty on, and I understand. It was a lot of paperwork, a lot of hurdles. I get it. There's a process. It's called due process. And for us to say that it's the teacher's fault, or all the teachers, I think it sets a bad precedent. I think for us to be saying this up here and saying that and attacking teachers, I think that's just terrible. I think our principals need the opportunity to be back in the classroom, away from paperwork, away from all the stack of things that need to work on, instead of being in the classroom as master teachers, That's what principals are. They're master teachers. They're supposed to go to our classroom and help us become better teachers. When I was teaching, I saw my principal come in randomly and would actually at times just take over my lesson and show me how he or she did it. That was powerful. I really enjoyed that. I actually enjoyed seeing somebody actually teaching and getting to learn from their skills. So I say there's a lot of things that are possibly failing our schools. It is not teachers. There's a lot of other factors that are impacting our schools. So if we would refrain from continually putting teachers as the reason for our kids failing, I think that would be a step in the right direction. And for us as leaders to own up to our own failures and not just push it on somebody else.